1.
All right, so welcome to the second game of the night. It's a game called GROOD, and that's, once again, it's GROOD. I know that looks kind of funny with the font we use. It's not GRU or some death exclamation by some animal. I'll be honest, I'm not exactly sure what GROOD is. That could be.
Well, it's the name of the thing you're driving, but...
Yeah, I know that, but I'm saying not exactly sure if it stands for something. Because with it all caps, that usually means it's like an acronym.
Mm-hmm.
It's all those letters stand. It's a great raider, octogen. You get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So beyond that, this is a shoot 'em up, and it's pretty much that. Like it's pretty much. It's a horizontal shoot 'em up that prides itself on its difficulty. Though, if I'm being honest, it's not. In relative terms, it's on the easier side of the shooter equation, if only because I know what bullet hell looks like. This is not.
Well, bullet hell is a different style. This is definitely more traditional.
Yeah.
Gradius Darius style, and for that, it's fairly difficult.
Fair enough. Like it's all relative. Like, and it does. You might notice that Pettyfan's getting hit here, and yet he's not dying. That's because,
instead of giving you multiple lives that each end didn't want to hit, you have a life bar, but no ability to continue at all until you beat level 4, and I couldn't, so I don't know what you get after that.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of the game Sylphie. Granted, that was a vertical shooter, but it's had the any shooter where you can get hit a lot, but if you die, you die. No continues.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, there's also a slowdown mechanic.
As you get score, you build up a little meter next to your score thing, and when that's full, you can push the right bumper or some button if you're playing on a keyboard.
If you're looking for a better horizontal shooter with a time mechanic, go play Sine Mora.
But yeah, you can temporarily go into slow-mo, which makes dodging a little easier, but it doesn't actually make you shoot any faster, I don't think so.
I can never get it to work.
Well, that's
you're not pushing the trigger and not the bumper?
I'm hitting the bumper.
Huh.
You gotta hit the trigger.
The trigger fires.
Oh,
So.
Yeah, that might be a problem with your controller there.
Might be.
Because, the right bumper is supposed to hit slow-mo.
Unless it's a bug with the PS4 controller, because it was just working like half an hour ago when I was playing Monster Hunter.
I mean, it could be an incompatibility with the PlayStation 4 controller on an Xbox controller. It works fine. Like, even my rapidly failing Xbox One controller.
Yeah, it was working fine for me. It wasn't always that useful, but it worked.
Just wise, don't get the Amazon Basics model of the Xbox One controller. Apparently, that's what I was buying. Yeah, the face buttons on that die quickly. Anyway, so yeah, there's not a whole lot here, even in shmup terms. It's
Again, from the descriptions that I read from the developer, there might be more to it later in the game. But did any of you guys get past level 4?
I just didn't have a lot of time to. I don't think I got past level 3. I, it's like I had to put all my reviewing time into Lightfall, so this is kind of the game that got the least amounts of play.
I got halfway through level 4, but that's about it. And you don't get anything at level 4, no additional weapon or anything.
Once you beat level 4, apparently you gain the ability to continue from that point or something. So,
Like,
so there might be more of the game that we just didn't get to because we didn't have the time to grind through 4 stages of pretty punishing.
well, it's like even if this game really isn't about storyline or progression, it's about score.
Yeah, there is a story, but it's not.
You're going towards some nondescript distress beacon, but that's about all you really get. At least at this point in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about the score. There's a leaderboard in the game, and so
It's perfectly fine for what it is.
Mhm.
It's just it doesn't exactly lend itself to a lengthy discussion.
Yeah.
I mean, the controls are competent, although word of warning, for whatever reason this game controls with the analog stick and not the D-pad, which is just kind of unusual for a 2D shooter.
Yeah, I felt it was a little bit imprecise sometimes.
That's why we don't control 2D shooters with the analog stick, my friend.
Yeah. So, beyond that, the graphical style is probably the most interesting thing here, as it's going for some sort of low poly, low fidelity aesthetic that isn't necessarily evoking outright retro graphics.
It's
like,
not.
It's like the look of this game, I couldn't like it doesn't look like an 8-bit shooter. It doesn't look like a 16-bit shooter. It doesn't look like anything from the past. It actually looks pretty modern. Unfortunately, that means like it looks pretty desaturated, and that's intentional. Because not only is it going from day to night as a way of progression, but the way it shows damage is the game gets grayer.
Yeah, and the screen starts to kind of crack.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a neat aesthetical trick without having a HUD.
Yeah, but it's also very, very distracting.
Yeah.
It is.
Like, I'd seriously rather, if I had the option, I'd rather have a HUD.
You do get a few power-ups here. From what I read, there's only currently 2 in the game. I've gotten the shotgun variant, and I hate it.
Oh yeah, but
yeah, it's not very helpful.
The Gatling throws out more damage, and it's also sustained damage.
Yep.
Right. I mean, the Gatling, the shotgun hits harder, but it doesn't. It's a shotgun feature. It doesn't have any rapidity to it, which is honestly more important here.
If you can get more than one bullet to hit a thing, I think it hits harder, which can be potentially useful for blowing up certain types of obstacles.
Right, but at best, that power-up felt situational.
Yeah, and
yeah,
as long as you have the opportunity to hit it at range, the Gatling will deal with it faster.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Can debris from enemies hurt you?
I think so.
I'm never too sure about that.
It's like I keep taking damage sometimes when there's nothing on screen other than enemy debris.
Oh, also worth noting is if you slam on the ground, you will take damage.
Mm-hmm.
As is tradition.
Yeah, the screen is just a little bit higher and lower than you can actually see. So it scrolls up and down a little bit if you go to the top or bottom, which can be kind of frustrating when there's one of the enemy missile ships and it's in the part of the screen you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
The music is there. I'll be honest. It's one of those games where I'm trying to remember what did the music sound like again. It was pretty fitting, I think, but clearly fairly forgettable. This is important to note because this is a game that has the soundtrack available for separate sale and download.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And getting on that pricing. So the game is $2.99, and the soundtrack is another $2.99. And for $3, I'd absolutely recommend this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not a bad game. It's just it's a fairly limited one. It knows what it wants to do, and it does it competently.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I didn't find it that, it's like I don't really get into shooter repetition these days, because that is a fairly time-honored tradition of shmups. They're not very long, but they're hard, very, very difficult. And, the secret to mastering a game like GROOD is just simple repetition.
Although it seems like when you're replaying the stage, sometimes the environmental conditions are different, so that makes memorizing patterns a little bit harder.
Yeah, the bullet points do mention that weather and patterns do change from playthrough to playthrough.
Yeah.
But the enemy placements don't change, which is the really important part.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so any other statements we want to make on GROOD here?
It's a video game. You can go play it.
It does have an epilepsy warning, so...
Yeah, because it does have some, weird flashes and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything that would be a problem for, my sister or anything like that, but people vary, so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have epilepsy, so I wasn't, worrying about health, but it did feel like I was going to get a headache if I played it for too long. So, I don't know.
Mm.
I didn't dislike playing it, but it's not going to be one of my new favorites or anything.
I enjoyed it for short bursts, but yeah, it's not a game for the impatient, basically.
All right, so that'll about do it for GROOD here. Stay tuned. Coming up next is Lightfall.